getting coaches to show interest this summer fast. This is the Athletic Scholarship Podcast, episode number 149. And a welcome from Johannesburg, South Africa, to the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. I'm Jon Fugler, on location. I guess I could just say I'm on the road. Found a studio and delivering this episode. I have an opportunity to travel to many places around the world, and well, you never know if you're going to find a studio, and I have here. So glad to have you along as speak to you from really the other side of the world. It's winter in South Africa. This isn't the summer recruiting season. It's the winter recruiting season. Anyway, we're talking about summer. We're talking about the summer recruiting season. I am Jon Fugler, your athletic scholarship coach. I'm a author, a speaker, a dad of 2 scholarship athletes, and here I am, a podcaster in episode number 149. Can't wait to hit that milestone of number 150. Well, this week, as we are in our summer recruiting series, getting coaches to show interest this summer fast, because you got to have it fast. Your time is limited. You want to maximize the summer recruiting season, and so you need them to respond quickly. And there are things you can do. We're going to go through that so you can see some results. You can get the response from coaches. They have more time because they are recruiting this summer. They're off season, and this is a big recruiting time for them, and you need to respond to that. So we're going to get into that. First of all, I want to let you know, if you haven't grabbed my freebie, go and get it, the Recruiting Power Pack. In that Power Pack, you'll get the PDF, very short PDF, First Steps to an Athletic Scholarship. Please go get that. If you haven't read it yet, you got to have it. The second thing you get is my audio on how to do video, how to use video. So you got an audio on video. And the third thing is the template for the resume or player profile. All available in the Recruiting Power Pack. And the cost is $0. It's free, of course, at recruitme.com. Recruitme.com, right there on the homepage. If you have not yet gone through the Recruiting Masterclass, my 45-minute video, please invest the time to do that. That is also free on my resources page on my website. That's where you can access that. Please go ahead and do that. This is step-by-step to your athletic scholarship dream. Great place to go. I mention this almost every week, because there's something about video. Video really connects. And there you have it. It's the Recruiting Masterclass 1 video that'll help answer some questions if you're just getting started in this process. I want to refer you to, also, we do this Playbook tip of the week from the Athletic Scholarship Playbook. And this is about communication. It's on page 77. It says, it can all get out of control if you don't adopt a good journaling and tracking system from the start. Besides the written and email communications, you might be receiving phone calls too, adding to the number of communications to keep track of. And the tip I have for you is that you want to track in writing all your communication with the coaches. And it's appropriate that I mention that. And by the way, you can get the playbook on Amazon in 3 formats. You've got Kindle, you got paperback, and also Audible. It's a key that I mentioned that tip this week because we're talking about a firestorm of communication that we want to help you generate with coaches. I want to help you get response, get some interest from coaches. If things have gotten a little slow, revive that interest. And there are things I'm going to share with you this week that will help you do that. And then at the end of the show, I've got a question, excellent question from a parent that I said, I'd like to answer this on the podcast, if that's okay. In writing, it'll get very long, but I can explain it more on the podcast. So this parent will get an answer this week. If you have a question, email me at john@recruitme.com. So you want to get fast response this summer so you can pursue the relationship. You want to make the most of the time. Make this summer count. It's the summer recruiting season. And here are some things that I want you to keep in mind and some things that you can do as you communicate with the coaches. Remember, you need to take the initiative. They're not just going to communicate with you. They're not going to find you. They're not going to just discover you. In most cases, you have to go to them first. So your first communication, and I will encourage you to get this done this week. To get started this week. Keep in mind that your first communication is just a handshake. It's just an introduction. You are not trying to get recruited max right out of the gate. That's not what you want to do. The first thing you want to do is to let the coach know who you are, that you have an interest in his or her program, and that you want to begin the relationship. So that's why I say it is a handshake. It's a handshake. You're not going to smother the coach with too much information. You're not going to come on too strong, although you want to be direct and you want to be succinct, and we'll talk about that. But you don't want to just smother the coach. You want to begin the relationship the right way. Make a good first impression. So the best way to do this, of course, is by email, to make your first communication by email. And to do this, here's some keys in writing that email out of the gate. You want to be short. You want to be short. We used to, of course, send letters, and I tell families, make sure it's one paragraph. You may have read that in the Playbook or heard me talk about that in the past. But email is the way to go. However, keep it to like 5 paragraphs. That still holds true even in an email. A coach doesn't want to read this long email. The longer it is, the less he's going to read. He will scan it. However, if you're using 5 paragraphs with succinct information I'll be going into here, the coach will read that. He or she can handle a short email, even amongst all the other emails that they're getting. So keep it short. Keep it short. Remember, you are not trying to smother the coach. You're not trying to convince the coach that you are the best recruit for him or her, but you are just opening the door and introducing yourself. It's a handshake. Second thing you want to do, I've mentioned this before as well, but these are good things to review, especially going into the summer. I want to get you some results this summer. Second thing is that you want to personalize this email. You got to do everything you can to personalize it. Of course, you're going to have like a model, a template, so to speak. You're going to have that first email you're writing that's general, but take that and personalize it with the coach's name, with the name of the school, anything you might know about the school, things that you can insert in there that shows that you are personally writing to this coach. Personalize it, and I guarantee you will stand out. You will stand out because 75% of the athletes don't do that. They will probably send a long email. They won't personalize it as much as I'm encouraging you to do that. And they will just really won't make a very good first impression on the coach. And then the next thing, which is along those lines, is to make it personal. Yeah, you're going to personalize it to the coach and to the school, but make it personal about you. The coach needs to really get a feel for who you are. I know it's hard to communicate your personality in 5 paragraphs, but choose each word carefully, each sentence carefully, craft it, have your parents read it, have other people read it who could evaluate this before you send it out, and make it personal. Mention some things about you personally, maybe a sentence about your family, a sentence about your aspirations, your goals, your vision, your dreams for competing, things like that let the coach know that this is another person on the other end. That may be difficult for you to do, so get some help in doing that. Parents, work with your son or daughter on this. An athlete, work with your parents on this. Parent, in fact, this is the place where you really need to exert some influence and help, although this email must be from the athlete. The coaches don't want to hear from you as a parent. So personal, got to be personal in this email. The next tip I give you when you're communicating with the coaches in this initial email is focus and being specific. Don't talk in generalities. If you're going to communicate certain statistics that you have, man, pick the top 3 and really zoom in on those and really put those out there. You want to get a coach's attention. This is a handshake. This is an introduction. Take your top 3 stats and lay them out there for the coach to see, and that will get their attention. Other ways that you can be focused or specific is talking about perhaps the major that you are wanting to pursue. If you don't know, maybe toss a couple of them out there. My interest is in X or Y. But be specific along those lines. Be specific as to why you want to compete at that college or university. Why do you want to compete in their program? Why do you want to be there? Be specific about that. Say something that is not ethereal or hard to get their hands on, but what is something that you can say that is really specific about why you want to compete in their program? Think that through. What is the answer to that? Only you know what the answer is, athlete, and you want to communicate that in this email. The coach will see your heart. He'll see your personality. He'll see your desire, your spirit. He'll see specifically what you want to achieve. So be specific, be focused. And finally, keep in mind that you're not writing a dissertation, but be more what I call headline-oriented or bullet point-oriented. Avoid long sentences. Keep them short and sweet, direct, and think more headline as opposed to telling the story behind the headlines. You are just trying to get the coach's interest. You're not going to tell the coach your life story. You don't want to do that. Later on you will, and that's going to come through conversation when the coach gets to know you. But be brief, as I mentioned earlier, and be short and be what I call headline-oriented. And those are the things that you can do in the next week. Craft that initial email. Go for it. Follow these guidelines. Remembering that's an introduction, a handshake. You want it to be short. You want to personalize it. You want to be personal. You want to be focused and specific. And lastly, headline-oriented. So that's where we're going. You do this and send out a dozen or 2 dozen of these in the next 2 weeks to coaches, and you will start getting some response. Now, I want to say something before we get to the question this week, that phone calls are important. You can also follow up your email with a phone call. That says a ton to a coach, especially if you want to go visit that school. You want to say, this summer, I want to visit, and here are the dates I'm thinking about coming. That's something that's specific. In a phone call, you can follow that up. You're not going to get a 80% response rate from coaches with a one-shot email. You may have to send a second email and make a phone call. But it's along those same lines. Be short, be direct, be specific, and you want to begin the relationship and see where it goes. So I hope that helps. Okay, we've got a question here from a parent. It's from Rich. Rich asked me this. He gave me this background. He said, my son is a class of 2020 lacrosse goalie, and he'll be a senior in the fall. On our college visits, coaches expressed interest, wanted to stay in touch, and some said he could start if he wanted to come there. But no coach mentioned anything in terms of money, cost, aid, things like that. Are there nuances in the conversations between coach and player family, or hints that are dropped indicating that they can help with my son's cost, that they want my son to commit and that he needs to commit now? Or if they want them, are they more direct? Who makes the first mention of scholarship and aid that the college is willing to offer, the coach or the parent? Oh, this is such a good question. I guess no timeline is exact, but I'm a little vague on how things should be transpiring now that we visited some colleges in junior year. There's still others that we want to see and coaches to talk to, but I'm anxious for my son that he might be falling behind with the first ones he saw. Oh, this is so insightful. Rich, I'm so glad that you and your son went to visit some schools. That says a lot. Coaches love to see that face-to-face communication. You're taking the initiative. And what you're talking about here is, how do we get to the nitty-gritty? How do we get down to the money issue? And that's hard to bring it up. I know it is because I've been there. But we have to get over that, and we've got to be honest. We really do need to be honest with the coaches. You tell me here that you have been in conversation with these coaches, the college visits. There's Some said that he could start if he wanted to come there. Well, you're in a position there because you've built the relationship, you built that bridge, so you can ask the questions and be tactful. You don't want to say, well, how much scholarship money do you have? Or is he going to get a scholarship? Maybe something like, what are his chances to being a scholarship athlete at your school? Mention my wife and I are putting together our finances on this, and we're trying to compare schools. We're looking at the whole package. And boy, we need your help to know what type of financial help you can give through scholarship, financial aid, and other things. We really need your honest feedback. And that's important. Tell them that you want honest feedback. You're going to hear some things that you don't want to hear, but you are saying to me, I'm lost and we're not quite sure what they're thinking. They haven't said anything specific. You're getting to the point now, because your son's going into senior year, that you can get more and more specific. Go back to these schools. You're right. You don't want to have the coaches lose interest and fall behind with the ones you've already talked with. You want to keep those conversations going. So go back to them first and have these conversations. And the coaches will appreciate that, because they know that they're thinking the same thing. Money's on their mind, money's on your mind. Go ahead and bring it up tactfully. I guarantee you, after 2 or 3 of these conversations, you're going to get good at it. You'll be better at it. And then there was one other thing I wanted to mention here is, and it's flown by me. It's just skipped my mind. But that's what I would offer to you to go, the school's coming up. As far as new schools that you're visiting and talking with coaches, you need to be sure that you have that relationship before you can ask too much about money issues. So begin the relationship, move as fast as you can on that. And as I said, as you begin practicing this and talking about this with schools and coaches, you're going to get pretty good at it. So that's my advice to you. It's advice to all my families, too, who are in this situation. There are many listening right now whose kids are going into their senior year. Well, that's it for this week, and I'll be back in North Carolina next week for next week's episode as we continue our summer recruiting series. If you have a good question, I'd love to hear it. Send it to me at john@recruitme.com. And next week, we'll celebrate episode number 150. Okay? God bless you. Have a great week.